In progress.
Transportation Planning Organization. At this time, I would like to move on to number 2, roll call. I would like to read remote attendance provisions. Mayor Renee Turk, representing the city of Salem, and Mr. Steve Fajikowski, representing Montgomery County, have requested to participate remotely for today's meeting of the RVTPO under the TPO's policy for electronic meeting participation, allowing for remote participation for emergency, personal, or medical matters, and a physical quorum is present. Mayor Turk has made the request due to personal reasons, as she is out of town for a separate meeting, and Mr. Fajikowski is making the request due to medical reasons, as he recovers from shoulder surgery. We have a call. What we get called in.
We'll need to make a motion to accept the remote participation requests and then move on to the roll call.
I have a motion to accept this remote attendance.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, are you on the call now?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
And Renee?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Thank you. All right, we can go ahead with the roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck.
Here.
Mr. Nicely. Mr. Rotman. Mr. Fajikowski.
Here.
Chair North.
Here.
Mr. Radford. Here. Mr. Mollison. Mayor Cobb.
Here.
Mayor Turk.
Here.
Mr. Holliday.
Here.
Mr. Lyles. Mr. Stovall. Mr. Price. Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Huber.
Online.
And Mr. King.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3. First of all, let's go around the room. Anyone sitting outside the perimeter of the table, introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Pete Peters, town manager, town Benton.
Josh Pratt, engineer with City of Settings. John McCoy, planning supervisor for Bontoc County. Michael Gray, the Salem District. Chris Robertson, the TPO.
Allison Smith, regional. Andrea Garland, regional commission. Anita Maryland, the planning and zoning, Valley-Alleghany. Superior Regional Commission.
I'm Maxwell Regional Commission. Jessica Meharan, Regional Commission.
Amaya Matthews, Regional Commission. Virginia Mullen, the Regional Commission.
Jeremy Holmes, Regional Commission.
Great. So Lord,
Recognize Mr. Norson today.
if Mr. Dorsey and Megan, would you tell us where you're from?
Chris Dorsey, City of Salem.
Megan Price, Roanoke County.
Yeah, and good. Well, I didn't think that. This time we move on to item number 3 of
I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell on the other side.
Ross Campbell, City of Roanoke.
Okay. Item 3, approval of consent agenda items. Number A, approval of the agenda. Number B, action on the RVTPO minutes on page 3 through 26. And C, written policy authorizing participation in RVTPO meetings through electronic communication means, pages 27 through 29. Important that you keep a copy of that in your desk or wherever in case you ever need to use that policy. Just tell us the reason that is permissible for remote participation. So at this time, I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second. Motion. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll need a roll call vote because the
Electronic.
electronic communication requires a roll call vote.
We have a motion, second, so do the roll call.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck.
Yes.
Mr. Fajikowski.
Yes.
Chair North.
Yes.
Mr. Radford.
Yes.
Mayor Cobb.
Yes.
Mayor Turk.
Yes.
Mr. Holliday.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
And Mr. King.
Yes.
The motion passes. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Under remarks, item 4, The Roanoke Valley TPO staff continues to communicate our region's concerns regarding smart scale economic development, ED1, as they call it, scoring roofing. On April 16th, a letter to our CTB board member, Dr. Ray Smoot, to leadership at VDOT, to the VADPC and the VAMPO, as well as Delegate Austin and Senator Sugarline, requesting full review of this methodology. Some of our concerns were addressed on April 1st at the CTB workshop. We don't feel the solutions offered by the CTB address our core concerns around expansion versus new economic opportunity. We will continue to work with state leadership on advocating changes to this score. At the federal level, the House Appropriations or Transportation Infrastructure Committee is targeting April 29th next week as the markup date for the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, and is negotiating a top line number between about $500 and $550 billion, which is less than 1/2 of what was last appropriated in the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act. However, we understand that the IIJA contains significant one-time post-COVID money that was not likely to be repeated. Transportation reauthorization funds a number of programs, including the planning funds or PL program that supports TPO activities. The STBG and related funding pots that we administer, and various funding formulas that support state transportation funds. Finally, I would like to introduce Molly Maxwell. Molly, still here? There you are. Stand up so we can see you, Molly. She joins us as the new Regional Greenway Coordinator and Recreation Planner, and she's going to get us some money for Greenway. Hi.
Yeah. With my magic wand.
Why don't you tell us about yourself and how long you've been here and where you came from?
Yeah, great, happy to. So I moved here from Southern Illinois, from Carbondale, about 3 weeks ago now. So I'm on my 3rd week of work here. While I was there, I was a city planner and senior planner, and worked a lot with our greenways and natural surface, mountain bike trails, and other bike infrastructure. And my education, my master's degree is in recreation. So when I saw this job posting, it was kind of a culmination of all the things that I'm interested and passionate about. So I'm really happy to be here. You know, I'll be serving as the Greenways coordinator, but then also doing recreation planning for the greater regional commission footprint. Happy to answer any questions for anybody, or chat after the meeting and talk more about Greenways.
Thank you, Molly. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You don't have any questions now, you're certainly welcome to later and ask some questions. Okay, anyone here from Bonneville County besides the gentleman over here? Let's do a commercial. Chris, the commercial on the truck study.
So, we will have our first meeting of the truck parking task force in May. And we are still looking for additional localities. It may not be represented in that RVTPO. So please reach out to me if, you know, if there's a locality that has not been represented in the truck parking study and has a truck parking problem, please reach out to me.
Thank you. So you can carry that message back to the representatives that weren't here if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. I can do that with the chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And if they turn a deaf ear, look at yourself in the mirror and you might be appointed. Could be. Anyway, glad you could be here today. Moving on to item 5, the RVTPO Unified Work Program was found in pages 30 through 58 of your meeting packet. We're going to let Chris Robinson tell us about that, Chris.
All right, thank you, Chair. So I know that many of you are probably on the executive committee for the work program. But I did want to take a couple minutes to highlight some of the projects that, we're gonna continue working on. In 27 that we're moving over from 26 and some of the new requested activities for 27. So please feel free to stop me and ask any questions. It's not apparent what the projects are. So the first one, the Roanoke Valley transportation plans, that's the long range transportation plan. That one's gonna be a big lift. The ongoing tip improvement or the tip program, planning and technical support for transit providers. The congestion management plan has to be updated this year. The environmental transportation impact analysis study, which is one we started this year and we delayed and we'll restart again in the fall. Just from headcount constraints. The regional and urban counter program update, you guys can look for the counter report for 2025 at the next meeting. And we should, we'll also be taking requests for new counters. New counter locations, bike route 76 study. We have to update the travel demand model. The East Bottom Small Area Plan for the city of Salem. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that area, it's straight across from the Civic Center and down. So I think on one end is the old Valleydale property, and on the other is the Columbus Fall Park, that used to be the Salem Pirates. The Art by Bus program, managing the sub funding programs that are coming through this year. Helping support the smart scale application process and analysis and regional truck parking task force. As far as the new things that are coming in, town of Benton transit connectivity study. The lap support for Vineyard Road pedestrian safety improvements. The city of Salem small area plan for Appleton Drive corridor. The smart scale typology review. Assist the city of Roanoke transportation division with their Vision Zero implementation. Roanoke Valley Greenways intercept survey, that's coming from Roanoke County. 10-year Roanoke Valley Greenways plan update. A flood prone roadway study and the wildlife crossing study, and those are both coming out of the SEDS recommendations. I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of those.
There are no questions. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks.
Let's see, this time we need to approve the resolution in your packet. If there's no questions, I'll entertain the motion. That's second. So moved.
Second.
And let's have a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it on the work program. Thank you. Moving on to item 6. The TED study draft found on page 59. Allison, do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. I don't think this was on. No, it's not. Okay, so. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and today we're just having an update for the TED study. So at the last TPO meeting, we went over a little bit of the work that we had been done on the project and the process that we have gone through to develop the top 5 and top 9 priorities. I think it went on with it. Categories. And so from that, I think it's good. Oh, okay. Now I'm off again. Anyway, I'll talk really loud. So from that process, we then had an update at the TTC meeting with incorporating those top 5 and top 9 regional goals, projects to develop the updated TED study document. So this is just an update from that effort that now you all have a updated document of what the TED study is with all of those regionally significant priorities the strategies, the funding opportunities all together, what it looks like with all the information put together. So we wanted to show you this before we come and ask for approval of the document. So that's why you all are seeing it this month and hopes to have next month to where we will request action unless there's a lot of changes that need to occur to the document. I think that you all will be happy to see that it is sort of mimicking the first plan that we had of the TED study. So that was the goal, and that was the feedback that I heard from everybody as we've been developing what this document's gonna look like and how it's gonna serve everybody. So I just want to let you know that you have access to the document. The link is in the staff report. And it has, I want everybody to review it, and if you have any feedback, I was requesting feedback by May 1st. So then if we are going to then seek approval and recommendation approval at next month's meeting, that we have enough time to be able to incorporate people's recommendations or changes that occur to the document. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Allison, on the TED studies. Hey, thank you very much. I think those were outlined in the package.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, no action on that item. We'll move on to Allison and item number 7, STDG Financial Plan FY 27 through 32-33. Found on pages 60 through 64. Allison, tell us about it.
Great. Thank you. So this item, I'm just gonna give a little bit of background because there's been a lot of movement regarding this topic. But essentially at the March RVTPO board meeting, you all saw the funding recommendation, the public engagement summary, and then the public hearing occurred. But the action was deferred until this meeting for future review and discussion. So there's been more discussion with internally and then also with our locality partners and VDOT partners about some of the concerns that occurred from a couple of their projects that were to be recommended through this STV project program. And then from that, we brought this information back to the TTC in April. And the committee had a broader conversation just about, what we're requesting, logistics behind it. And then from that conversation, it seemed that everybody seemed to be on the same page regarding what the requests were and moving forward and being comfortable moving forward with these requests. But due to the request that we had from Mr. North at the last meeting, we wanted you all to be able to have the additional information about what these projects are, because I know a lot of people have were just on the board, new members, and things like that. So from then we have 2 project sponsors to go through the applications briefly of what these requests are to get a greater look at what the project is, what they're requesting the money for. So everybody kind of understands what the money is for. So with that, we'll have Ms. Gronice come and talk about the 4 requests from Roanoke County, and Mr. Dearden or Mr. Campbell to then do the 5 projects from the city of Roanoke. And then after that, we will look at the financial plan. If that sounds.
Good, thank you, Allison. So who goes first? Megan, Dwayne?
Yes.
Okay.
Afternoon. Megan Cronice, Assistant Director of Planning and Handle Transportation for the county. I'll be happy to talk through our request for SDG and CR department. This request is Raymondton Avenue mid-block crosswalk. This is the location between Cave Spring Middle School and Cave Spring Baptist Church. And if you've been to an event at Vogel Field behind Cave Spring Middle School, then you know that there's typically not enough parking on campus, and there's overflow parking available at the church across the road. challenges, Ramilton Avenue is 5 lanes wide, 45 miles an hour speed limit. So we have 2 sets of police officers staged at 2 different points to cross Ramilton Avenue to get people safely across the road. We've had 3 pedestrian crashes since 2015 in this area, thankfully no fatalities. And with the last one, Roanoke County Public Schools asked if we would please look into how to improve the situation with VDOT. So we did, and came up with a mid-block crossing scenario to help people get road. In October of 2023, we met with VDOT and county school staff and principals at Spring Baptist Church to talk about the challenges and proposed concepts. VDOT submitted 2 highway safety improvement program projects in late October of 2023. Neither application was funded. And that included not only mid-block pedestrian crosswalk on Brambleton, but also pedestrian signals and crosswalks at the intersection just above the street at Ranchcraft and Roselawn. In October 2024, VDOT submitted the HSIP projects again. The projects were still not funded. So we applied for SVG and CRP, $2.1 million to continue preliminary engineering. The corridor's already been surveyed by VDOT. We would want to lower the speed limit from 45 to 35 miles an hour with this project, install definitely activated flashing lights within block crosswalk and refuge island. So when someone does approach the crosswalk, they push a button, the lights start to flash, and it tells the cars they need to stop. People can safely cross the intersection, then continue to the event. The cars continue on Remington Avenue. We would connect a new sidewalk to the school sidewalk near the bus loop. We construct sidewalk across the church's upper parking lot entrance with an ADA ramp to the parking lot. We would potentially install hedges or something along the top of the slope to keep people kids from running down the hill towards the road. We don't want that to happen. And then we received letters of support from both Roanoke County Public Schools and from Cave Spring Baptist Church. Any questions on the Brambleton Avenue mid-block crosswalk project?
Like, are you looking at red flashing lights or yellow flashing lights?
I believe they would probably be yellow.
That doesn't work real well on Aviation Drive, just so you know.
You appreciate that. And this is also for design, right of way, and construction. So this is the whole project for $2.1 million. The next project is a railroad crossing elimination study. And this is something we've been working on since 2021 when we worked on the US Route 460 land use and connectivity study. What we heard at the community meetings was that trains will frequently stop and block the tracks on both Lehman Road and Glade Creek Road for up to 2 hours at a time. This wasn't something that county staff was aware of. So we started looking into what can we do to eliminate these at-grade railroad crossings. So as part of the study that we did, we had railroad analysis completed, and then we applied in 2022 to the Federal Railroad Administration for the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant funding to design a grade separated crossing, which would be a bridge over the railroad tracks and Glade Creek, and realign the other road to meet up with that new crossing so that we could get rid of both at-grade crossings with one bridge. That application was not awarded in 2022. And when Summer started with us in 2025, she said, well, could we apply for STVG funding for this? And we asked Allison and VDOT, and they said yes. So we started working out an application to apply for funding to continue the study on these 2 intersections so that we can move forward at a future date with a solid project for construction funding from the Federal Railroad Administration. So we requested $550 for the study to replace Lehman Road and Glade Creek Road at-grade railroad crossings in the Bonsack area with one bridge and connect both roads together. The study will include community engagement as well as full NEPA documentation and 30% design plans. We received a letter of support from Botetourt County. Glade Creek Road continues through Roanoke County into Botetourt County, so their residents would be affected by this as well. Any questions on the railroad crossing elimination study? Okay. The next project is the West Roanoke River Greenway Phase 2 preliminary engineering. So we've been working on completing the Roanoke Greenway in Roanoke County between Green Hill Park and Explore Park for a very long time. So we've been studying this section of the West Roanoke River Greenway since 2010. We had funding for the original project, which was phases 1 and 2, which are the orange and green lines from Riverside Park to Mill Lane. It was obtained over a number of years through a number of sources. Greenway alternatives were considered, design was completed, and right-of-way was obtained. In 2021, Riverside Park to Mill Lane was removed from the project, that's in red, due to right-of-way acquisition challenges. In 2022, VDOT recommended splitting the project to advance construction of phase one where right of way had been obtained, plans were complete, and funding was available for construction. When the project was split, no funding was available for phase two. And phase two includes a bridge over the river here and continuing along the back of the Salem Industrial Park, crossing under Dugoods Lane, coming back around and creating a pedestrian bridge next to the VDOT roadway bridge here at Dugoods Lane. So this is the piece that we broke out because we had the right of way here to build this piece. And this was completed at the end of last year. And this piece is what we've been working on. Part of the challenge was with the increase in cost due to COVID, the bridges alone cost $7 million according to a 2022. So we were looking at other ways to potentially finish this greenway without having to build $7 million bridges. In 2023, phase one construction began. Again, it completed at the end of last year. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony for it. In April of 2024, we held community meetings with 95 attendees and received 189 survey responses. This was to relocate the greenway on the south side of the river to eliminate the need for those $7 million bridges. In April of 2025, we held another community meeting with 71 attendees and 82 survey responses. And option one, which is drive at the Roanoke River, received the most support and the least opposition. And option one was locating the greenway along West Riverside Drive, the roadway and the river. And this rendering shows what that could potentially look like. So what we're requesting is funding for 100% preliminary engineering plans for option one, located between West Riverside Drive and the river for $1.2 million. It'll be a 10-foot wide asphalt greenway like the rest of the Roanoke River Greenway. We would need another set of gable and basket retaining walls along the river, the length of the greenway like we have phase one. We would need timber guard fencing, as you see in the rendering. Some trees and vegetation along the river would be for construction. We would include an 8-foot wide landscape buffer strip of street trees, curb and gutter along the north side of West Riverside, and VDOT would administer the design project. And that is really important. And we really appreciate VDOT partnering with us on that because we have 20 parcels along the river that would be impacted. They're all residential. And some folks have said absolutely not. And then a lot of other folks have not given us an opinion at all. So we know that right of way could be potentially challenging. And VDOT has set up very well the right of way where Roanoke County staff are not. So we do have letters of support from the city of Salem and from the Roanoke Valley Greenway Commission on this application. So this is just for design. So it would be survey, geotechnical studies that need to be done to be able to come up with 100% design plans, where then we would know what the right of way impacts would be and what those potential costs would be. So we could apply for right of way funding. We could apply for construction funding. We could know what the project would cost. Yes.
Go back to the map. Yeah, right there. So the piece that you're looking for, the green piece right there, that's not funded?
This is on the ground.
You don't have easements for, I guess.
This whole piece is done.
No, before you get to that piece.
Here?
Yes.
This has been on the ground for many years.
Okay,
This is the section from Mill Lane to Kings Mill Drive.
okay.
So this has been in place for 10 years or more, Josh.
I mean,
So-
what part do you not have easements for, I guess is what I'm asking.
This piece. So this piece is on the ground. This trailhead is built.
Okay.
So where the greenway was to go from here was to cross the river on a big bridge, to continue along the back of the Salem Industrial Park, go under Dugoods, around, have another pedestrian bridge to Green Hill Park. So what we want to do instead is move the greenway to this side of the river, and it would run along West Riverside between the road and the river, right through here, and go under Dugoods Lane and connect up with Green Hill. So we take out right off the top $1 million for 2 ped bridges we don't need. So what our rough estimate showed was that moving the greenway to the south side of the river, construction costs alone were about $10 million, which is way better than the estimate for this. And in 2022, this was $22 million with the $7 million for bridges. So that's why when we got this piece moving, Supervisor Hooker agreed that we should talk to the community about what other options could we come up with to say, we don't have any money for this piece. Let's start over and see what might make more sense and be more fundable. And that's.
So on the city of Salem side, you don't have any, there's no easement problems then?
Easements were obtained through the industrial park. The last piece we were working on was New Millennium. And that was because we were working out how this needed to be designed. So they were great partners, but we never got to the point of getting the right of way from them because we ended up breaking the project in half. All the money came off of this piece, so we stopped spending any more money on it.
Well, what I'm referring to is River Rock Restaurant.
Mhm.
That's,
That is in the city of Salem over here.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about, though. You don't,
That one's not mine.
oh, okay, oh, that's ours. Gotcha, that's his.
So the
Oh,
line,
that's his, okay, sorry.
this is the line here,
Right,
the city of Salem, Roanoke County line. So that's very much in Salem.
okay, yes, okay,
And I believe there's good news on that piece, but that's your news to share.
okay.
We're working on this. It would be in Roanoke County, on the south side, Roanoke County side of the river, all the way to Greenville.
That's there.
So this funding is for preliminary engineering to figure out what the project's gonna cost.
Right,
The right of way is gonna cost. So it's $1.2 million for preliminary engineering that VDOT would administer. Yes, Mike.
I think the original plan, was it only even the south side of the road? Or wasn't there something about the residents on that side of the river that were pushing back originally?
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
in 2011. And that's why the design was pushed on to the far side of the river.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yes. So there's.
So we're just coming across the river, but not getting across the road, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The fun part is that a chunk of West Riverside is plat dedicated to Roanoke County. The other part is a prescriptive easement. So those property owners still own under the road and on the riverside of the road. So we still have to work with all of those property owners. Some are against, I think many did not complete the survey, either survey. I think there's a lot of, my understanding, the neighbors talk a lot. And so if one may be in favor of the greenway, they might not want to say so because they don't want to aggravate their neighbors who are against it. So we had like 5 or 6 responses to the survey last year for 20 parcels. So there were a lot of abstentions. So again, our VDOT partners who are set up very well to do right of way have agreed to not only administer the preliminary engineering phase, but also right of way and construction to help us move past some of those challenges that we have with property owners who may not be so interested in having a greenway across it.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rath.
While we've got Ken King here with VDOT, Ken, I'd like you to kind of tell us what kind of headwinds are y'all gonna run into trying to get those right of ways on that south side? Because we had a Supreme Court case 30 years ago, the one out west. Like those things, I can't remember, the hardware store, where they ruled in favor of the hardware store being compensated for that property being used. So what do you think?
So it certainly, it is a public project to connect transportation if directed by the TPO locality to move forward in that direction. That would be the project plan. So we would then have our right of way folks that would look at those that do own would be due compensation. And we would go through a process of negotiating with them that compensation with the hopes of reaching agreement. Yeah, that doesn't always happen with roadway projects, at which point, you do use eventually eminent domain to move forward with, filing and having the courts dedicate that property for the purposes of the public project. And then the resolution of valuation takes place post implementation sometimes, with courts ultimately deciding, the valuation of that. That's not, it's not common, but it's also not uncommon for transportation projects to have to move forward in that fashion. But certainly the not in the front yard, it's across the street, up on the other side of the road. But it is, there's not so many ways to connect those 2 points, and certainly crossing the river twice doubles the cost of the project, and so it's very challenging.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And with this phase, we would just be working on preliminary engineering. Future phases, we would apply for future phases to start right away and do construction. So this is just for the design and to figure out what those right of way impacts could be. Any other questions on this project? So the East Roanoke River Greenway Gap preliminary engineering. This is another greenway we've been working on for a very long time, with funding obtained starting in 2008. We applied for and received several grants to fund this project between the city of Roanoke and the Blue Ridge Parkway. So these are the switchbacks coming down the hill next to the water treatment plant down to the Roanoke River. So this was the original alignment that we worked on up till about 2018. These 2 parcels are now owned by Roanoke County. They were Explore Park, or they are Explore Park parcels. They used to be owned by the VRFA. And then this section is the section that's on the ground right now. But I wanted to show, this is the original plan. So design and environmental investigations were conducted between 2012 and 2018. Meetings were held with property owners as the greenway developed. Easements were obtained from 5 property owners on 10 parcels along the corridor. So out of a total of 20 parcels, that was, half, and less than half the distance of what we needed. The project was scoped down to construct a segment on VRFA Roanoke County property next to Blue Ridge Parkway, which was completed in 2023. Which is that section here is completed. In June of 2022, we held a community meeting on a VDOT design for the remaining greenway segment with 67 attendees. Did I miss something here? I think we might have missed a bullet point. So our VDOT partners helped us with another study of the same section to look at ways to pull the greenway up the slope and not have it as close to the river, so there would be less impacts of flooding. It could also help us meet the new interpretation of the PROAG of no greater than 5% slope instead of up to 8.33% where we designed in the past. And we held a community meeting on that design for the remaining greenway for the segment. Had lots of attendees at the meeting and 381 survey responses for a 0.9 mile long segment that we submitted for Smart Scale Round 5 funding, which was not successful. And that piece ran between these parcels and through, this piece is owned by the Holland family, the Holland heirs. So this is very steep with a gorge in the middle. So there were lots of zigzags to get down and then back around to these 2 Explore Park parcels. So that was a $29 million application for 0.9 miles, which was not funded in round 5. So the East Roanoke River Greenway feasibility study, the Board of Supervisors approved CIP funding for that. We started in October 24 with ECOM. We held 2 community meetings with 138 attendees and 292 surveys. There was support for routes along the Roanoke River in opposition to routes along roadways. I'm not sure I have. That study area is in red from the piece that's on the ground all the way up to the city of Roanoke's sections of the greenway. And in July of 2025, we held 2 more meetings. We've gone from 9 different alignments to connect those 2 points down to 3 alignments. And we had another 65 people and 212 surveys completed. So this is the alignment that the board ultimately chose to move forward with, and this is Route A. So the way that this connects to the existing greenway continues across the river to the Tinker Creek Greenway in orange, with a proposed bridge from the city section of Tinker Creek Greenway across to the town of Benton. This is a property near the canoe launch, and then continues through a number of parcels here, several of which are owned by the town, down above the railroad tracks and the river, and across the low side of the backyards of these folks to cross over the Roanoke River and the Northern Southern Railroad tracks back to the Roanoke County owned parcels here and Hollanders here and back to the existing greenway that's behind that text box. So that is Round A. And what we have asked for is funding to start preliminary engineering plans that VDOT would administer up to 30%. So what we really need to do, in addition to survey and geotechnical work, is to figure out how do we phase this long 3.12 mile long segment into manageable chunks that we can then go after and fund in manageable pieces. So I think with the town's assistance, we appreciate their support of this greenway alignment. There's sections on town property that could happen relatively quickly. And I think we can continue to work on this section between the 2 Roanoke County parcels, the Pollinators, and work in towards the bridge, which is going to be the expensive piece in the whole project. But this alignment is supported regionally as a way to connect the Roanoke River Greenway and finish it to Explore Park. So again, VDOT would administer the design project in future phases, and we have letters of support from the town of Benton, the city of Roanoke, and the Roanoke Valley Greenway Commission. Other questions on the East Roanoke River Greenway gap?
Any questions?
Right.
Okay.
So now, the rough estimate of the project when it was on the other side of the river, is that, remember right, about 50 million?
There were 3 elements that we got down to and we had costs for.
So we were about 50 million on that side?
So the alignment, that was the combination of yellow and orange, which were the original 2018 alignment, and the 2022 VDOT alignment was about $56 million.
And so we go to the other side, it's a little bit of a story like we just talked about on the west side. Our costs go up a lot, right? And our DV costs go up a lot to get to about $90 million on
Around,
the current alignment.
and the in-river alignment was also about $85 million.
So one of the things I wanted to make sure the board was fully kind of aware of, informed in, is just the scope and scale at $90 million. I mean, all of the RSTP money for the TPO is about $7 million a year, roughly. So when you look at, if you're trying to fund this project out of just RSTP, it's not that fundable, you know, or very, very difficult. It takes a lot of, it's a big project, right? Seeking, you know, what funding will we be able to seek? Smart scale may be challenging in that it really values connections to multimodal, commuter-based trips, things of that nature, to which this area is not that strong in that piece. So I think it will be challenged to get smart scale funding. So, you know, I think that obviously we've got 2 points that we need to try to figure out how to connect still, right? And figure out a funding source, how that can be done. So I do think it's wise to move forward, to continue to try to inform that, you know, how best to overcome this challenge. The piece I did want to caution both my staff, who's been working with the county, and I certainly appreciate the good work that the staff has done, both at the county and VDOT staff, is that this could be a very difficult and long range effort. Some things you do, you can do it like geotech. If we do need to do a little bit of core drilling to figure out what kind of geotech we've got, that's not likely to change over 10 years. You know, your core drilling of what's under the, it's going to be about the same thing in the future. So there's some activities you can do, you know, if you're definitely going to be working on this side of the river, you know. Now, if we did a bunch of core drilling on this side of the river and then later somebody said, well, we really just can't afford this, we need to go back to the other side of the river. We just spent a lot of money on core drilling that then doesn't have any effect because we can't put it on that side. So my caution to staff and to the TPO is just that I think the allocation of these funds so that work can continue is certainly, I think, an appropriate action, but we should do so with sort of some cautionary. You don't want to spend a bunch of money on things. The other thing you could do is if you go through doing various types of permitting or environmental or any kind of assessments of those types, they have a shelf life. They're only good for a certain number of years, and then after time has went by, you have to redo that process over. So it's really picking wisely what activities you do to continue to try to find a way appropriately, as Pro-Nice pointed out, how to you know, get bite-sized pieces of this problem solved. You may recall the department had a very big challenge in the past where we did a bunch of work on the 460 alignment out in the eastern part of the state, and then found out that there was no way to get the environmental permits. You know, it was not a permittable project, and we lost a lot of money of work that had been done trying to move toward the execution of the project. So now, one of the things that certainly is a very common ask within the department: is it permittable? Is it fundable? Is it deliverable within a reasonable time period before you engage in too much of the preliminary engineering work, because you don't want to spend a lot of money and then find out that you're on the wrong side of the river or you don't have something that can execute. So not saying that we shouldn't allocate funds, but certainly I think it would be wise to ask the staffs to you know, do some assessment of what the next phase of high level work might be, and then maybe keep this board informed as to what that is, so that you do know the investments that are being made to try to solve this problem, which we need to solve. How do we connect the 2 points? But we do so in a way that's well placed and as we proceed.
And thank you for those good comments. I just want to add something. The Norfolk Southern is no longer going to be one day. It's going to be Union Pacific. All their lawyers are going to be in Omaha, Nebraska, not in Norfolk, Virginia. And I just now thought of this. Shame on me for not bringing it up before the meeting. Do you have any letter communication that they're willing to even consider the bridge that's a green line up
Yes,
there
sir.
and come back onto the other side?
We met with them and talked
And
with
do you
them.
have something in writing?
And yes,
You do.
yes, they were
Well,
one of
when
our
you-
very important stakeholders.
When you get a chance, lay a copy down on my desk at work. I'd like to see that. Because, and I'm glad you did get something, because you'd hate to spend 2.7 million, you know, and then work down towards that, and then no is the answer. So that's a good insurance piece, communication. To show other lawyers one day who probably won't be around, that are in Omaha, Nebraska.
So we met with a variety of stakeholders.
What's that?
including- We met with AP and Norfolk Southern, the city, town of Benton.
Good.
We covered all of our bases with our AECOM study.
Was it a lawyer from Norfolk Southern or PR?
It was our contact, the gentleman who's in charge of the Roanoke area for Norfolk Southern and the consultants that he works with.
Okay, so he was a PR guy now, but the question is, what's the law department? Have they weighed in on that? That's where I'm going with this, because the law department has to approve anything like this.
We did not get to that stage.
Yeah, well, that's
We got the
concerning.
clearances and other
That's just
information.
concerning. I'm gonna just tell you from my experience. If you don't have law buy-in on it, it could be a little shaky.
Mr.
Yes.
North, I was gonna wait until the comments at the end, but the city is working to become a party of concern for the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger. And I'm gonna let y'all know how you can do that as well. And that's one of the ways to make sure that these things get done.
Good.
So
Yeah.
one final comment on next steps. You know, if this does pass and funds are allocated, one of the things that I would certainly suggest, and certainly encourage my staff and the locality staff to do would be to identify this first phase activity, which may be planning level. So it may be a $300,000-ish kind of study of assessing the issues. I don't know exactly what that size needs to be, but something that would further inform the scope, the scale, the challenge is going to be here to try to deliver the project and make certain that the next steps that are taken are well placed. I mean, this is very similar, that you have a pretty strong community pushback, and certainly the the decisions around those issues are difficult. They do impact people's property. But we just got through talking about another one over on the west side of town, where through additional engagement discussion, we kind of revisited back to, the other side of the river because of a scope and scale of cost. This project, I think, presents that same challenge, at least for consideration. Although I don't take away at all the hard work that Megan and the whole team has done to try to get to a point of figuring out how do we connect these 2 points. So last comment, just that the scope and scale of effort should be, I think, laid out and maybe brought back to this board, as they get ready to set sail on that work. If they determine the scope is going to be X, the cost is going to be Y, and this is what we're going to try to achieve over some timetable. That way it keeps the board informed along this effort of trying to figure out the best way to solve this problem.
And I would concur with that, but I'd also add, at that point, you need to get a better, stronger feel, not from the operating people, but from the law department has to approve all these things. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you need that before you go any further after you get the results of the study. I would just keep that in mind.
Yes. I also wanted to, I agree that it's a similar project, but on the west, we also have the greenway located between the road and the river. On the east, the problem that we have is that while these properties all sit up on a bluff over the river, there are a number of properties that have direct access to the river. So by putting the greenway on the south side of the river, and with the VDOT analysis, with the second time we tried this we're now on our third try, it's 2008. With the second try, we had a retaining wall and a greenway and a retaining wall. So if you wanted to go from your house that may be here down to the river, how do you get past the retaining wall and the greenway and the retaining wall when you've got what looks like, an interstate on small scale in your backyard between you and your recreational space? And that's what we heard from a lot of these property owners is you're taking away my backyard. I can't use my backyard anymore. When we move to Route A on the other side of the river, and I understand there's a great big bridge there. We're on the other side, on the north side of the railroad tracks. So these folks don't have usable backyard. It slopes way down to the railroad tracks. And so you have the railroad breaking up your access to the river. So they don't own the river like the folks on this side. And that's where I think it's a little bit different. And we're doing something similar with the west because we're not taking away usable recreation space from folks that's in place. So I just wanted to make that point too. That's what we heard time and time again from these folks. We use our property, we hunt on our property, we don't want people in our backyard. We don't want to be cut off from the river access. And that's why we looked at the other side, which provides fantastic opportunities for the town to be able to connect to the Roanoke River Greenway, but they haven't been able to do that before. So there's pros and cons, and this was not an easy project. Again, third time we've tried this since 2008. But we think that we've got a great consensus scenario, and yes, it's expensive, and yes, we can break it into pieces, and I'm hoping we can get them small enough for some TA funds. So, you know, we'll do the best we can to build it in pieces and phases to be able to ultimately this whole segment through the Roanoke Valley from Green Hill to Explore Park. Thank you for your time. Yes,
We don't have the ability to use VDOT in their right-of-way agents on that south side, because we're going right to the river, correct?
if that application that we submitted in 2022 had been successful, then VDOT would have administered it and VDOT would have taken care of it. But Smart Scale was not the right program for that application.
Okay.
So it failed. That's another part of the challenge on the south side is there's not a good break point. You can't really phase that piece. And even if it's $55 million, how do you break up that project into multiple phases, other than the way that we tried to do it, which was breaking it here,
Okay.
and then you still have all these backyards.
Yep.
And we also talked with fire and rescue, and we said, how do you get to the greenway if there's an emergency? And there's not really a good way to do that, other than driving up people's driveways through their backyards and trying to get to the greenway. So I think there's a lot of advantages on that north side too, because you've got Third Street parallel in a lot of it. So there's a lot of pros and cons that we went through before we got to the board choosing Route A.
And let everybody know also, I asked about trying to get the bridge closer to the Niagara Dam, and tell them what you ran into over there.
So the challenge we had with the bridge is, and it's this long because we're trying to aim for this parcel, which is owned by the county. So these are all privately owned, and some of these folks have been the most vehement opposition to Greenway at all. So we didn't want to land on any of these to make it a quicker, shorter span. We were aiming for the Roanoke County property where we knew we had right of way. The other challenge is we've got Wolf Creek coming in, so you can't get too close to Wolf Creek to be able to make it more of a straightaway. Plus, the Blue Ridge Parkway, the National Park Service owns this parcel here. So we tried, Blue Ridge Parkway's been a partner. We really don't want to partner with them again if we can help it. So that's why this bridge is as long as it is because of the topography on this side, avoiding the creek. And then we also have the Niagara Dam and the FERC boundary to contend with, which is another challenge. So nothing over here is easy. And that's why we started with 9 alignments for the first community meeting, where we drew lines everywhere we could think of to try to figure out how do we connect these points. And we heard loud and clear from residents, do not put that greenway on a road. Do not put it along Highland, do not put it along Eastland, do not put it along Route Trump. Put it along the river. So that's why we refocused on the 3 alignments that were along the river, the one in Minton, an in-river alignment, and then the original combination alignments, again, through those backyards that people really didn't want. Nothing we do is easy. I wish it were. Yes.
And I just want to say thank you, Megan, because you've been involved with this and have stuck with this. You went back to 2008, but I don't know if that's when it started for you.
That was Liz and Janet in 2008. It was not me.
Okay.
I was at the county, but I was not a part of this.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it is a testimony to these are long-term projects to try to get through. And it'd be great if we could say everything is aligned and everything is pre-approved, but it's not, it just doesn't, it won't happen that way. You have to, it's like how to eat an elephant a bite at a time, and that's kind of what you have to do with this. But that, I'm not saying that we do have to consider the issues with the railroad. Phil, I'm not arguing with you there, but I don't, there was a time on that stretch that we were talking about earlier where part of the problem was that, when this did become a political issue, I understand that Elmer Hodge, then county administrator, had promised to the residents that they wouldn't put the greenway on that side of the river.
West End.
Yeah, on the one we were talking about earlier. And so sometimes time just has to pass and get to a change in circumstances. But this has been a long-term project, and these are the last few pieces, when we envisioned the Roanoke River Greenway, that we hope to get finished.
One final, to a point that was made about VDOT's ability to support right away on this alignment. It would kind of depend on the funding source and some details, but we likely could be a party to the right of way piece. But obviously, as you heard Ms. Cronich speak, there's a lot of factors there that I think the locality, I don't envy the seats that you sat in to try to represent the interests of the broad community and also recognize the impact on the individual. So I really just wanted to fully inform the board on this particular project as it has its challenges. And having been with an organization that has moved forward with thoughts of execution, and then you get to a point where you realize, oh, we can't execute in that direction. And then having had that loss, did not want to have us move forward in a way that wasn't completely aware of that potential. Be very careful not to have expenditures that we would then later regret. So our team is going to be focused on that with the county, and certainly appreciate the great work that team collectively is doing.
And we appreciate VDOT's partnership in study as well.
That's very good. Anyone else have any comments so far? Wrap it up so we can get on in front of the city this May.
All right, well, we can keep on talking about Roanoke River Greenway. Mr. Chair, members, thanks for letting me present here a few city projects. I've got five projects to present, 5 slides in total. So we'll start off with a continuation of Roanoke River Greenway conversation. So this is a request for $8.2 million in construction for a connection from Underhill. This is the last phase of the Roanoke River Greenway in the city, from Underhill to Golden Park, which is this green square right here. We've like Roanoke County, tried for many years, tried many different funding sources to tackle this, most recently congressionally directed spending. Total to build the final connection, which we've broken into 2 phases, is about $16 million. So this is kind of a halfway point, get to Golden Park. The next phase would run from Golden Park and then connect up to Tinker Creek Greenway, and also the Roanoke River East Greenway section that Ms. Cronich just talked about. So definitely a vital section. A fair amount of challenges with this particular, which is why it's so expensive. As you can see on the slide, we've got about $2 million in just stormwater drainage that we've got to deal with. There's a fair amount of water that flows through this section, and we've got to address that. So bulk of the construction is just dealing with stormwater. There is no curb gutter and sidewalk through this particular area of the city, so installing that is going to require a fair amount of work there with the drainage. The other element of it is driven, again, just because this particular funding direction we're taking is the VDOT contingencies, which are part of the project planning. So that's another 30%. And then you add on 10% just for inflationary factors. And that really drives that number quite a bit higher than what we initially put in our congressionally directed spending request. So that is phase 1 construction, $8.2 million. The Underhill parking lot, they're Bennington to Golden Park. Any questions on this one here? All right, the next 4 are going to be buy downs for our Smart Scale Round 7 applications. Start with the first one, which is our secondary egress or access to our industrial park, RCIT, up there on the north end of 460 for the city. So right now through Smart Scale Rounds 3 through 5, we've got about $65 million currently being spent on capacity preservation there on 460. But where we're seeing a lot of point of failure is with truck traffic both entering and leaving the one entrance that we have on Blue Hills Drive. And so this is really a request from our economic development team to look at secondary entrances in order to buy down some of that signal time delay that we have. We also have a parcel that we own here. The city owns that, quite honestly, from a development standpoint, has been a challenge just because of some of the slope or the topography coming off the road, and so access to that has been limited. So this access point would allow us to continue with capacity preservation out there on 460. Would allow a secondary in and out for the tenants, which drive economic development, and then allow the city to potentially have a sale of that parcel for industrial development here in the Roanoke Valley. So again, this is a buy down request. Overall, we're looking at about 14.5 for construction with a $2.9 million request for buy down on it.
Very good. Any questions? Okay.
All right. Next one I have, again, a buy down. So this is Orange Avenue, from Gainsborough to Lafayette. This is currently part of an WIPY study that was driven by a VDOT request. As you can see there in that first line, this is, in the top 5% as far as crash impacts per volume here in the Commonwealth. And so definitely have some issues with crash volume on this section of roadway, as well as congestion. This particular section of Orange Avenue has got a strange configuration. We've got 2 lanes westbound, 1 lane eastbound. And so as we're going through the study, and we expect to be at the Gate 2 milestone here in June in order for our full July application, we're looking at configuration options as well as pedestrian safety, congestion mitigation, and anything that we might be able to do to enhance multimodal access, bus and other mechanisms there. So again, very early on, as this is still in WIPY study.
Very good. Any questions on this project? Okay,
All right, another one that was identified as far as crash volume. So this is Campbell Avenue at the intersections of 5th Street and 6th Street. Unfortunately, on 5th Street, we have a fatality. This has been through HSHIP twice. And bottom line feedback has been, even breaking them up into 2 different sections, is that these are just too expensive for HSIP. So we're going through Smart Scale, asking for a buy down of $800,000 on this one here. As you can see from both those drawings up on the screen, a fair amount of pedestrian bump outs or island bump outs there on each corner, crosswalks, as well as signal enhancements in order to ped crossings in on these 2 intersections. Overall, looking at about $4 million for the total request for Smart Scale.
thanks. Any questions? Very good.
All right, the last one that I have for you is going to be on Williamson Road. So this is at Liberty. The configuration of this intersection has been problematic. You can see from the drawing here that we do have a little bit of an offset in the alignment. In the drawing itself, it's somewhat corrected, but there is a fair amount of offset in that alignment, a fair amount of crash volume at this intersection because of that. So as we've gone through our Division Williamson Road process in the city, and the demonstration project is still going on right now, one of the consistent items of feedback from the community has been this particular intersection. We've known it's been a challenge for a while, and we've really worked within the limitations of the funding that we have internal to the city to mitigate those. But we're looking at a Smart Scale to really help us with the intersection realignment. That would allow us to add a dedicated left-hand turn lane, which is really the offset crash is where we're seeing the bulk of the crashes, as well as continue to have the separation phases that we currently have in place. Also, we're looking at pedestrian improvements all along Williamson. This would specifically target this intersection with ADA ramps and sidewalks, which are tied into larger efforts going along Williamson Road. Again, an effort to revitalize the corridor, and this intersection would certainly help in that process. Looking at a buy down of $2.1 million for a $10 million project.
Good, thank you very much. Any questions on this or any of the other projects?
Thank you, Chair.
Very much. Right, this time we will seek approval of the resolution found on page 63. I have a motion to move acceptance of the resolution.
Do the resolution. Second.
Right? We'll do a roll call.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck.
Yes.
Mr. Vizionowski.
Yes.
Sharon Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Radford. Yes. Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Mayor Cobb.
Yes.
Mayor Turk.
yes,
Mr. Holliday. Yes. Mr. Stewart.
Yes,
Mr. Hibbert. Mr. King.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8, Smart Scale discussion. Anthony, Ken, you off the flip point or both speak, that's fine.
We arm wrestle.
He was a long way away.
I'll defer.
Anthony, I know you got good news for us today. Don't want to hear anything.
I have news for
I will tell you that, if you were expecting a comprehensive, exhaustive presentation of smart scale, this is not gonna be it. This is really intended to be a really brief, kind of high level, where are we at? There's been a lot of activity in the smart scale arena in the last, really, couple days. So this is intended to just make sure everybody's on the same page and knows what's going on, with that information. So again, Anthony Ford, I'm the District Planning and Funding Manager. I will go ahead and tell you now, if you ask a question, I will phone a friend. Michael Gray is over here, so he will 100% get the question delegated to him. So we'll see how this goes. So I wanted, right off the bat, just kind of talk about where we're at, kind of calendar wise. You guys that are in the room that were applicants for round 7, that the pre-application stage ended on April 1st. So we're in the period right now between April to the end of May, where we're looking at pre-application screening. There's a lot of coordination going on with OIP, the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment, and our district staff. Perhaps our district staff maybe reach out to you guys with questions, get a little bit more information. There's a lot of activity going on right now between start of April and the end of May. And I'm not going to go through all these days, but what I definitely want to draw your attention to is that August 3rd deadline is very important. That is the full application deadline, 5 p.m. August the 3rd. I've been around Smart Scale now for a number of rounds, and I marvel and kind of chuckle every round that folks wait until about 30 minutes before the deadline ends, before you see people get into the portal. So this is just my ask, my encouragement to please do not do that. Please do not wait till August 3rd to access the portal and start entering information. So I know a lot of your coordination is going on already right now, so just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. I will draw your attention to the italicized font in the middle of the sheet there, or the middle of the page. All resolutions of support are due at the time when the final application is submitted. That's a little bit different. In previous rounds, there was a little bit of grace period. There was a time when you could continue to coordinate and submit the documentations. We understand that there will be no grace period given, that all required resolutions, that would be all, from the pertinent localities and also the resolution of support, will be due by that August 3rd deadline at 5 p.m. I'll stop short of there. I just really wanted you to see the other dates, the other activities. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with smart scale applications. I did not put on this particular slide, but we do, as it has been the case for the last several rounds, we expect scores to be released in the January timeframe. And that's always an exciting time for localities and for VDOT staff as well, when the scores are finally released and they come out. So does anybody have any questions about the schedule coming up over the next several months? All right. Hearing none, I want you guys to kind of understand the competition, if you will, that you're competing with for Smart Scale Round 7. And so you see these numbers are just for our district. So in our district, we had 42 pre-applications submitted. And I wanted to highlight that 19 of those are within the RVTPO area. So that's a pretty sizable percentage of the pre-applications received. If you are curious and wondering how that compares statewide, Salem District actually had the second highest number of applications per district in the entire state. We had more applications than Northern Virginia. We had more applications than Hampton Roads. The only district that we were lagging behind, lagging is not the proper term, but would be Richmond District. So we are well represented in the number of applications submitted in round 7. Real quick, the last area on this particular slide, you guys had a lot of discussion and concern, rightfully so, about high priority program projects in round 6. And to paraphrase a quote from Mr. King, that you don't make the baskets if you don't take the shots. And so we have taken a lot of effort to coordinate with the localities to try to increase our HPP eligible applications. And you see in round 6, we only had 5 that were eligible in our entire district. We have 15 this round that are eligible for high priority funding. So in the vein of taking more shots and hopefully making baskets, just want to make sure you guys were aware of that. Probably what's more interesting to you, probably maybe I should have just covered this and this alone, is what has happened in the smart scale world really this week. There's been a lot of activity. We have a new administration. We have a new Secretary of Transportation. Just a little bit of a side note, I know internally we were fully expecting a lot of changes, probably with round 8. We have been somewhat surprised that there's been a lot of changes with round 7. As you know, we're right in the midst of it. We've tried to do our best to keep up with the changes, to keep the localities informed. But just kind of working our way down here, the innovative intersections, high priority funding, you guys are familiar that was something that had been discussed the last several months. And the CTV actually took action at the meeting yesterday to adopt and add the fact that innovative intersections are now an eligible improvement type under HPP. We had been assuming that was going to be approved. So in our coordination with localities, we were kind of leaning in that direction. And so we're glad to see that has come to fruition. It is now official. And so a lot of the HPP eligible applications that we have in the hopper that I showed you the last slide are in the vein of innovative intersections. So we were glad to see that finally become official yesterday. The economic development score, Mr. North, you mentioned that earlier about the letter of support that you guys sent on April the 16th. There was some discussion on that yesterday, actually 2 days ago, at the CTV meeting. And I understand your statement you made earlier, the concerns you have, but as they explained it, this is more of an administrative change to the process. This does not require CTV approval. So round 7, you're going to include both sites and properties in the scoring criteria. And I will tell you that we obviously, our agency is not BEDP. We have been instructed to encourage localities who have eligible properties that may fall under that, do coordination with the real estate solutions team with BEDP by July 20th. So just be cognizant of that. Again, we are not the subject matter experts there, but we can certainly help you guys make those contact points and try to answer questions you might have.
Are you, let me just ask this, was it mentioned that they were gonna reach out to BEDP? It indicates that they concurred with that, because I don't want to see our people go in the BEDP if we get them, what are you talking about? What?
Well, 2 things is, one, I know that just this morning, OEP staff said they were going to be sending out kind of a blast email to all applicant community,
Good.
making sure they were aware of this, making sure they knew these steps. It did sound like that this will be solely an activity between the locality and BEDP, and once a particular eligible property is entered into the database, that ends the coordination, if you will. That then becomes part of the scoring. So I wish I had more specific details, but again, it's kind of a moving process, but getting in the direction that you guys wanted and the letter of support. I was talking with Jeremy, I guess was a couple weeks ago about maybe another topic, but you guys have a pretty good bat there, but you guys turn around a letter and just a couple days later, we see the CTV taking action. So I encourage you guys to continue to campaign on various topics as you see fit.
We take no prisoners.
That's right. The third bullet down, the recommended funding scenario. This is an interesting topic, and I want to make sure everybody's aware of this, is that there's been some discussion amongst the CTV about the order in which the funding would go in the recommended scenario. And in previous years, well, we've been all over the place with the various order in which the funding occurs. And so I'll just cut to the chase. The way they're going to do that this year is they're actually going to run 2 scenarios, one in which the DGP or district grant funds would be awarded first in the recommended scenario, and then another scenario in which the high priority funds would be awarded first. And if you're like, well, what is the difference? Well, if you're running the recommended scenario and a project is eligible for both categories of funding, obviously if it's chosen in the recommended scenario for one, then it precludes it from the other. And so it does have impacts on what projects are in this recommended scenario for individual districts. I'm interested by the fact that at the January 2027 workshop meeting, they're going to present the 2 scenarios, and the expectation is 24 hours later at the action meeting that same week that the CTB will be adopting which of the scenarios they want to pursue. It's kind of an interesting approach, but that's the direction they decided to go. And then the last one, just real quick, not a lot of specifics here, but I think the current administration, the current secretary and his deputies have heard the request and the plea for additional information and explanation of smart scale. So this particular staff is working on developing new materials that's going to be specifically tailored to certain groups. And so I think that'll be welcome by many folks that have a little bit deeper understanding of the process. And so I just want to make sure you guys knew that that was coming and that we will certainly share that as we get it. The last thing I'll mention, I did put it up here on the slides. I know this body had been interested in and actually had written a letter of support for having district grant funding, DGP funding, based on district only scores. It sounds like that has been discussed openly. It sounds like there's open support for it, but we do not expect anything official to be adopted by the CTB until likely around the January timeframe. And this is just my opinion. If I write this down, we'll put the pen. I think that what they likely would do would be bring another alternative recommended scenario like they're going to do with the DGP and the HPP, and potentially bring some district level score only the CTB members that want it. So there may be multiple scoring options on the table for at least a day that will be be considered. So the January CTB meeting, those CTB meetings aren't always the most exciting thing, but maybe get you some popcorn and get ready to watch the January workshop and action meeting. They may be pretty exciting. So I'll stop there and see again if you guys have any questions. But just want to kind of give you guys what is the latest and greatest. Smart scale it's often a moving target. We do our best to try to keep everybody informed. And the last thing I'll say before I just kind of open up to questions is I would just again strongly remind everybody that smart scale is not the only funding option in town. It certainly is one of the most attractive. I get that. No local match. It is a sizable amount of money. But we have other funding options that may be more amenable to some of your projects, whether they're revenue sharing, whether it's TA, Highway Safety Improvement Program, EDA. There's tons of opportunities that may be out there. I heard the Secretary of Transportation, one of his first meetings when he came in, was talking about how much time, effort, and resources we spend on smart scale. And he said something along the lines of that smart scale only makes up about 7.8% of the overall funding that we have available for projects. And I thought that was interesting. We certainly spend more than 7.8% of our time and resources on smart scale. So I just want to remind everybody that smart scale is a very attractive program, not trying to discourage anybody from pursuing it, but just know that there may be other options that I'd be glad to talk to you about, at another time. So with that, I will stop short so if anybody has any questions.
Good last point there. Any questions for Anthony or Vito? Good summary. Very good summary. Thank you. Dave, you got anything you want to add?
To that agenda item, no, sir. Anthony did a great job.
You did a great job. Thank you. All right. Moving on to other business. Is there any other business come before the RVTPO today? Is there any, moving on, we can have somebody else?
Yeah.
Other business?
We do have time for something else. Oh. Yes. Oh, okay, well, never mind. I was gonna ask a question. What is May?
Back to work.
I'm so busy. Yeah, Barbara's not here, so but yes, May is Bike Month, and I just really quickly, we have this year, we have worked with our partners locally and regionally to host a Bike Month website that really encompasses everything that is happening, again, locally, regionally, and even nationally in terms of Bike Month. And I want to point you to this Ride Solutions on their events. You can go right there, Bike Month. This we have statewide challenges through our DRPT partner Connecting VA, where you can win up to $500 in prizes. We have local challenges right here in Roanoke. We have a local, or like in the Roanoke Valley, we have a local challenge sponsored by one of our local businesses, like the Black Bibs. If you're a cyclist, you might know what this is, but it's a local apparel company that's very, very reputable. So get onto Bike Community, just have to commute 1 day a week to be eligible to enter for prizes. Our partners with the New River Valley are also hosting, we're hosting the events for them as well. Events that I want to recognize, May 6th is Bike to School Day, Bike and Roll to School Day. We have, and May 15th is Bike to Work Day. But most importantly, this website, other than hosting all the events that are happening again, we're partnering with Pedal Safe, with bike shops, with the city of Roanoke, and with other localities. A lot of events that might attract some of you, the Ride of Silence. I believe our mayor is gonna be you're gonna be part of it. I invite you all. This is a great event to commemorate lives that have been lost or injured due to vehicle crashes and bike related crashes. So a great event to participate in if you're interested. Also shall you, this is not top, there you go. We're hosting events for all of our region localities. So if there is something here that is not listed, please let us know. We're happy to host it, and we're promoting this page throughout the month. But I also, we have lots of resources as well that you can share, especially like through, bike and road to school. Like national resources, local resources, the city of Roanoke is hosting, an event with Roanoke City Public Schools. The RVT, bike to work resources, again, lots of information that, can help you on your efforts. But definitely do contact me if you, are interested in being featured on this website or just have any questions about Bike Month. We have an excited campaign that will be running throughout the month. The Love Your Commute, spotlight. So we believe that if you're outdoors and, just moving, that your commute just become more enjoyable. So I'm going to share with you, one of our feature videos that will be running throughout this month. And so that's all I have for you. If you guys have any questions, I really just wish you a happy Bike Month.
Thank you.
Question? All right, I expect bike sales to increase substantially here between now and the next meeting. All right, moving on to item 10, comment period by the RVTPO Policy Board members and or the public. Do we have anyone on the public that they mentioned they want to speak? Chair. Okay, here you go. Peter.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on the, so when I was in at the National League of Cities in March, there was talk about the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger, and how you can become a community of concern or party of concern. It was sparked by, Ms. Cronice's, talk about the railway crossings. So my understanding is that this is the best way, if you have issues in your locality with Norfolk Southern, that this is one of the best ways to get them dealt with as part of the Union Pacific merger. It goes through the Surface Transportation Board. So if you go to their website, you can see there's a UPNS resources link there. And it tells you how you can become a party of concern. Now you'll need to kind of think about all the different at-grade crossings. I know for the city, we're thinking about what's underneath the East End shops and things like that. So that when if the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger is to go through, they have to deal with those concerns from the parties before they can actually finish up the merger. So I would just encourage everybody. I think Norfolk Southern probably hits every one of our localities. I'm sure Salem, Roanoke, and Roanoke County. So please, take the time to go to the website, figure out how you can get those, get your package of concerns together with your locality and hopefully get them dealt with during this merger. So just wanted to flag that for everybody.
Good commercial on that statement. Megan, would you take that information and the bond sack for sure rail crossings and how the trains block both crossings, which is a safety concern for fire and rescue, never mind the citizens. And you might throw in there that greenway.
Yep.
And that's how I would get with Richard and county attorney on that, and let's get something moving. They may have to, it's not too late to bring something like that to walked on from the meeting next Tuesday. Otherwise, we gotta wait till May's meeting to take it up if the board needs to, vote for a resolution of support. Peter, did you know if there's a date offhand?
I
Deadline?
don't, I think they actually haven't even opened up the,
Okay,
so it's gonna open in this month. It's supposed to open up for, filing for that.
excellent. I appreciate that. And same, anyone else, Salem, you got great crossings through there too, but they're always a concern. Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything before I let Jeremy do a commercial here?
I do have one item, sir.
Yeah.
Well, actually, two quick items. One, in addition to May being, bike safety, is also work zone, work zone awareness week this week. So, last year we had 17 people die in Virginia work zones, and over 2,000 people be injured. So it's a real national challenge and problem. The, work zone awareness week is now a national, campaign, and many folks may not realize it actually started in Virginia. Started in Bristol in 1997. Bristol district staff began an effort to, in the spring of the year, bring about work zone awareness. And that has, over the course of the last roughly, 29 or so years, really, 28 years, spawned into a nationwide event that all the DOTs are a part of. Down at the Transportation Museum, there has been a barrel monster. It looks a little bit like a transformer, but made out of construction barrels. It's kind of neat looking and draw some attention, but it's all about awareness, and certainly being distracted, impaired, or inattentive in our work zones is one of the biggest challenges that we have. And certainly, as you know, there's a lot going on in terms of increased and enhanced enforcement of speeds in work zones. In many cases, there's pretty large vehicle, no matter what size it is, only separated by that and one of our workers by a 12-pound traffic cone. So really, we need everyone to be as attentive as possible in that. That began in Bristol in 1997, but we certainly lifted up and celebrated. So I encourage you to do that. Yesterday was actually the vigil that's held out at the top of Afton Mountain. If you've ever been there on 64 traveling east, one of the pull-offs is the Workers Memorial. And it is a very pretty view, and it's a granite stone that the only missing element of it is where the person should be. You can see the brim of a hard hat, very artfully done. And the names on there are names of VDOT employees that have died in work zones, since our record of those that we have. Too many names on the stone. In any case, I certainly encourage you to recognize that this week and be attentive in work zones. Lastly, I have taken on an acting assignment in our central office for a period of time. Over the next 4 or 5 months, I'll be supporting as the Chief Deputy Commissioner under Commissioner Bridge. That was a position previously held by Kathy McGee. She retired here this spring, and the commissioner asked if I would come and provide some support for a period of time, until probably September-ish. And I'll be circling back. During my absence, I know you will be in good hands. One of the benefits we have in Salem is having such strong staff at all levels. Ann Booker, which many of you know is our district maintenance engineer. Ann will be acting as the Salem district engineer in my absence. Brian Blevins, which many of you know well, is our resident engineer in the Salem residency, will be the acting district maintenance engineer. And Ashley Mathena, his assistant, will be acting as the Salem resident engineer. So I know those folks will continue to serve the localities here in the Valley well. And, but if for whatever reason, there's a challenge, you need to reach me. You've got my cell number on the telephone call away. I'll lend whatever support I can. And, Mr. North has already told me to try to bring back the secret coach from Richmond, and I don't know that I'll be, but certainly I look forward to the return. And I certainly know that I will return with insight, if nothing else. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to lend some support in this fashion. So.
We don't say a word, we don't want to keep you. But you got a good staff.
Indeed. Thank you.
So we look forward to working with you. We'll find out about you too, but while you're down here, because we don't want to take away from the big picture. All right, very good. Anybody else have anything you want to bring before the commission or public comment here? All right, that being said, Debbie, you had something.
Yes, I do. Just real, very quick. I was waiting, make sure that you're ready like that for. Just a real quick follow-up on that, the smart scale question. I think to address your question earlier, Mr. North, there was some coordination between BDP and, getting here. I think it was mainly understanding how the Virginia Scamp database works and how you get sites in there. The administrative changes is useful and effectively means that smaller sites are now going to be considered. But if you recall, our core concern, and we knew this was not going to be addressed, it's not to say that we're disappointed that any, anything's happened. But our core concern is that the ED score does not adequately capture job growth from existing operations, really focused on jobs from vacant marketing, actively marketing sites. So again, this doesn't address this use case of the Wells Fargo call center expansion, for example. Any projects associated with that would still score 0, even if it were to enter as a property, because it's not being actively marketed. It's not a half vacant office building or something like that. It's an ongoing business. And there's a lot of other parts of that scoring separate from the Virginia scan database that have to do with prospect visits, Virginia visits, ready site investments, to back their commission investments that again not addressed here. So we're excited the CTV is paying attention to this, and several other CTV members brought this up. But I wasn't able to watch the action meeting. I watched some of the workshop meeting on Tuesday. So it was addressed from some other parts of the CTV, which is good to see. But we'll continue to work on that issue of 85% of our job growth in this region are expansions, and that's simply not adequately reflected in that piece of the methodology. So that's just wanted to add to that, Mr. Moore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See you next month.
I know you were, so you get on, clean as I was getting off there. They had